How's it going, everybody? This is KizunaCollection here, and today I will be showcasing you guys the builds that I used on the previous live streams, and will be showing them on this video. Currently, right now, I'm going to be using my buff red build that focusing mostly as offensive, mostly pure attacks, less a bit of crit rate, but more offensive damage, since Annerose tends to lack a bit in both attack and crit. Originally she did have that weakness where it was HP and defense, but really it's more attack and crit, but we'll get to it right now. Right now I'm currently picking floor 46, since that is, I wanted to try out the buff build for this. I wanted to see, this is the first time I'm actually going to do this with this buff build. I originally intended it with the crit, but now I'll be showing you with the buff. Currently I'm equipping Demon Magatamas to him, since I am facing demon type characters. I have full red build. It's Pika, Shirayuki, and Stella. Later on I'll be showcasing you guys the skills that I use, well, more into details about why I use them and supporters as well. But here currently I have the rebellious weapon at max at plus 12, I think, on this one. But here I'm currently just didn't really do much damage. I'm mostly doing around to the 120,000 mark, to closely to the 700,000 mark that I originally intended it. But thankfully with these skills that I'm gaining buffs, while at the same time I'm debuffing the enemies at the same time, so I will not have to struggle with them later on the line. I didn't use any of my supporters currently yet, since I used them at the end. Spoiler alert for that. But I have Divine's Wrath, I have the Floret's Remix, Fang Strike, and Yoshiiro style. But here I use Pika just to get the invulnerability and do a massive amount of damage to both Astros and Noah, since they were all near next to me at this point. I had both the invulnerability, and since I had the Fang Strike, it gave me a buff of attack, so I took that to my full advantages, trying to do much attack input as I can. And then with that, I was able to clear the floor easily with ease. Granted, remember, the weapons and supporters are enchanted, and Annerose being a level 81. So now that I was able to beat that, I was kind of surprised that I beat it on the first try, to be honest. But next, I wanted to try it out in the daily quest with using a different kind of build that I had in mind. It was a red critical build, is the best way that I can put it, since I'm using the Annerose supporter, Shirayuki still, and Lydia. The reason why I have Annerose as the main supporter was because since she increases critical rate to demon type characters, Annerose being a demon type, and increases the max HP, so that helps Annerose even further. Shirayuki is still the same thing, just because she does increase damage dealt by a demon type character, Annerose being a demon type. And then Lydia, because she does increase critical damage and increase damage dealt to enemies by a certain percentage depending on the level you have it at. So here, I wasn't getting the actual results that I thought, since this is still a work in progress build that I am currently working on. But as more as I upgrade the Annerose supporter, it would be more beneficial for her. Granted, this supporter is at skill 2 out of 5, since I did use a nano machine for this, since I got a bit impatient and wanted to buff up the Annerose supporter. But that expects nothing much for the simple Annerose, so. But here I was able to defeat it easy. Everyone knows that they could beat daily quests easily. The best challenge to show that your build is well used is in arena. But here I wanted to showcase it in dailies because it's still work in progress build. So next, what I was going to be using was kind of like alternative builds for red. In case you don't have none of the supporters that I have, I wanted to showcase you guys a different red build. So these are a build that I was thinking about. It was using the free-to-play Shiranui, which is the New Year Shiranui. I tried to look for it, then I realized it was underneath the Annerose supporter, so I was like, oh wait, there it is. So I just clicked on it. And then the next supporter that I was going to use next was another suppressed one, which was Shizune. And then the other one was going to be Homura. So the reason why I picked Suzune was because she does increase damage dealt to enemies with debuffs by 40%. Granted, Floret's Remix reduces enemies' defense by 10% for 10 seconds. So that was automatically a good way to use the supporter. Homura was due to the reason, in case you don't have Stella, since Stella is an event supporter, Homura was a good substitute. yes, you get the same increased damage of like 30%, but you're also being taking damage for 10%, an additional 10%, so you're taking damage. The difference between that and Stella is basically the stats, to be honest, and that little negativity that Homer has. But overall, this is budget, it's still good. The New Year Shiranui does increase damage dealt to enemies while you're reducing damage dealt to you at the same time. So it's a good alternative build in case you guys don't have the supports that I use. Granted, you can mix and match builds to show that may benefit you, but here I'm just showcasing full red build of Annerose herself. Next one I'll probably use blue, then green, but here I'm just showcasing you the damage it could do. It pretty much did well than I pretty much expected. 30 seconds is actually pretty good. But yes, the powerful Annerose was the best one to showcase this. And also because I'm a bit biased towards Annerose, so can't really do much about that. But next one I wanted to show was so off to the next, the blue build. So the blue build I had in mind was I get to be using was an anti-machine build, due to the fact that I'm using different supporters for this one that benefit the anti-machine for it. So I wanted to showcase this in Arena Tower once more for this blue build, and the best way to showcase it was a machine type boss monster that everyone had difficulty with and probably still has difficulty with is Tempest 2.0. Yes, this little, not little, but this machine of a boss monster is really did give me a hard time since at first I never fully understand the useful supporters. But here, now that I had a bit more of a good way to show this, I had different skills, somewhat of a different skills for Annerose in this one. I have Divine's Wrath, Floret's Grudge, Floret's Darkness, and Yoshihiro Style. The reason why I have Floret's Grudge was due to the fact that with counter, it knocks back the enemy. With Floret's Darkness, I could just hold the attack button and then all enemies will come towards that area. And then with Divine's Wrath was due to the fact that once you use it, you add a second lightning strike. So 2 strikes will happen on the event. So here I used Floret's Darkness. I was able to gather the enemies to one area. Didn't quite plan out than I originally had. But here I try to use it once more time just to see if any more enemies I missed were coming towards it. But then I got kicked out of the air, so I was like, oh. But thankfully I found this particle and then used it to use her ultimate. The ultimate looks amazing for Annerose, I am not gonna lie about that. So here I was able to finally beat Tempest 2.0, the boss monster that I had much struggle with. You gotta like that end screen for Annerose herself. But yes, those were the skills that I used and the support that I was using for Annerose. Granted, I will go again a bit detail on the supporters that I used for it and the reasons behind it. So next I wanted to showcase another version of a blue build that was still being a work in progress, but then I was like, no, you know what, let me show it one more time in a daily quest for reasons, for like just to show you guys how well this build could be used in even dailies or PvE. But here I didn't dodge for some reason. I just dodged on the last second, then decided to use Floret's Darkness just to drive the enemy, just to show you guys. I don't know why I did that, so better late than never. Then I want to use the Grudge to showcase the clothing that Michiko's comes out. So remember, Michiko is the suitcase, so that's probably her clothing. But here I use Darkness to gather all the enemies. Remember, only the enemies that do not have super armor are being rushed to that skill of hers. Those that do have super armor are not. They're resistant. As long as you get their super armor out, then they'll be dragged to the Floret's Darkness. But here I showcased it another 30 seconds. I was like, yeah, sure, pretty good. I liked it. Next one, now I was gonna switch to a different build. The other build that I had in mind was an anti-demon build. It's basically blue again, but just mostly focusing on against demon type characters. Now, before I did this, I accidentally forgot that this area is not anti-demon. It is mostly humans. And I think machines as well. So I was like, oops, I forgot about that. So I decided to switch to another daily quest, which was the daily quest gold, since that one does have demon enemies. So I wanted to showcase it better at a place where it shows more demons. So it's the same skills, just the only difference is the supporters that I used. Well, the 2 sub ones. The main one was still the best one for me, since Amidahara, I think that was her name, since she does damage dealt by melee attacks. So Annerose being a melee user, Annerose gets full beneficial of that supporter herself. I use Fukuru for this one since she does increase damage dealt to demon types by 24%, and Onigumu for her doing one of the best supporters to use against demon type characters. Please, Grummer, release that event supporter. We need her. Well, technically I need her, but you get the idea. She's really good. I'm hoping Grummer releases the event again. If they're not, then they're really losing much for this. So here I just used the ultimate, easily taking them down. The Magatamas that I used were increased crit rate and increased damage dealt to demon type. So since it is a anti-demon build that I'm trying to work on. Granted, I currently do not have a anti-human build, but right now this was the best builds that I can use for now at the moment. So next I wanted to showcase her green build of Annerose, one of the best builds that I have been using in Arena Tower that has gotten me through a lot of struggles. But here I am using the same weapons. Difference is I'm using increased critical damage as the main, increased critical rate in the sub, I believe. The supporters I'm using are Yuno, Kawaru, and Sakuragi, I think that was her name. The one that does increased damage dealt and increased critical rate and increased critical damage. That's what the supporters are using. The same weapons, Rebellious Weapon and Demon Enslaver. So here I wanted to showcase it again in floor 46 to show how well this build was better used than my buff red build that I was using. So here I felt like more damage was being used for it. The skills that I am using for this are Devour, Hakurutsen, Yoshika Inbound, and Yoshika Irosa. The reason for Devour use for this one was for the two simple things, for that HP recovery and that whole slowdown defense, since since I want my enemies to be slower than I am and do much damage with the Hakurutsen before they're able to recover or attack me at the same time. So here I'm finally at the Astaroth versus Noah one. I got lucky here pretty much because Astaroth and Noah finally got together on this. So I was able to use Hakurutsen and Noah literally jumped into the attack. So they got Froggy stunned, and then using Yuno and the vulnerability, I am not being attacked. I am basically saving all my strength and being safe with my attack. Noah got a simple attacking me, but using Yoshika Inbound did the most damage. I would highly suggest though Yoshika Yasha Inbound be used with their green build. Yes, the whole increased critical rate and the defense is really nice in her red and blue, but that skill would be best used in green due to the fact that that skill becomes active for only 4 seconds in red and blue. In green, you get the additional 2 seconds, so that's 6 seconds in total and 4 seconds for that cooldown. So you'll be constantly using it every time you dodge. That skill is highly recommended if it's always active. You need that 6 seconds to really do that much damage on it. So here I decided to tackle another floor. This one had Kurenai, Micah, and Mari. Here I did fight this floor in the live stream, but here I wanted to showcase it again one more time. So using the Yoshika Inbound, reducing my enemy's defense and their speed, I'm doing much damage with ease, not having to worry about my enemies trying to attack me and interrupt me with my attack animation, which you will see a little bit later on what Kurenai does, but like in a couple seconds. But here I got lucky since Kurenai jumped in the area. I was able to do a Hakurutsen, and they were being attacked constantly. I used Yuno for the invulnerability, so I won't be interrupted from my attacks. Here you see Kurenai interrupt my skill, and then I got knocked out of it. So I used Yoshika Inbound, used Devour, was able to reduce Kurenai's to 0. Next I had Mari, and then here I just literally just used melee, to be honest, since Mario was already at low health and I was able to do much damage. Here I was able to clear it in 51 seconds, being with ease and not having to worry about anything. So next what I wanted to do was showcase you a different case. In case you guys don't have Sakuragi, you can use Nagi Kotane, since she does increase damage dealt with melee attacks by 30%. A good substitute for her in case you guys don't have her. Nagi is an event supporter, so That way, if you guys have her, she is well useful for Annerose as well. Since she is a melee user, you're out to get a benefit from that whole melee attack damage. So here I was just screaming through, trying to see how fast I could beat these enemies, but also showcasing like how much damage you're doing dealt with against the enemies. Granted, remember I'm using crit Makatamas, I'm using crit rate for the whole one, and then crit damage that is still being worked upon currently at the moment. One day I'll probably will use these builds in Taimanin just to see how fast I can clear them, but for right now I just wanted to show you guys the builds that I'm using. Damn, you gotta love Annerose's party dress. But why not? See, granted, remember these are enchanted weapons and supporters, that's why I'm able to clear them faster than usual. But yes, now that I showcased you guys my builds, now it's time to show you guys the skills and builds and the weapons that I use. So for all the builds, the weapons that I used were the Rebellious Weapon and the Taimanin Slayer. For the buff red build, I used, what was it? Damage dealt to humans or demons or machine types depending on the enemies I'm facing, crit rate, and the sub weapons. The skills I used was Divine Wrath. With the red build, it's increased damage by 25%. Bang Strike increases damage by 10% for 10 seconds, so you're doing massive amount of damage. Florence Remax to reduce the enemy's defense by 10%. Ice of the inflicts additional damage and increases critical damage by 250%. And Yoshihiro Style is basically increased damage by in total of 30%. The supporters I used was the main Spica for the invulnerability and the increased critical rate of melee attacks by 16%. Shiryuki, best one, increased damage dealt by demon type character by 36%, and Stella for increased damage dealt to all enemies by 30%. Those were the supporters that I was using, the skills and weapons. Next one I was going to show you guys was the crit rate red build. A crit red build basically. It's a work in progress and I'm still trying to work on it a bit. Was using the Annerose main supporter. Increased critical rate of demon type characters. Increased max HP of demon type characters. Shiryuki, still best support you can use. And Lydia, since increased damage dealt to all enemies by and increased critical damage of all attacks by, so you're gaining the whole beneficial crit rate and crit damage together. Same skills, same everything, still the same setup, just different supporters. Now for my blue build I was using was for this one. So the same weapons, just different setup. I have the critical rate in the main and the demon, the machine types in the sub weapons, the Magatamas. Next I had Divine Wrath for adding one more stroke of lightning for when you're doing the dodge. The second one was Floret's Grudge to knock down the enemy in case they're able to surround me and I'm able to clear the area. Next I have its Floret's Darkness, which reduces the enemy by 10%, increases the durations by 2 seconds, and increases skill damage by 150%. So you're basically doing more damage to a certain enemies, but you're doing the damage. And the same as increased damage by 30% in total and that whole particle charge. The supporters I was using for this one was the Hiragai for increased damage dealt, and then Kohoro for the increased damage dealt to machine type enemies by 15%, and Fuma Amane increased damage dealt to machine enemies by 50%. So you're doing massive amounts of damage for machine types. Next one was the anti-demon build. Same setup, just different supporters, the same weapons, just different Magatamas. It's aiming towards demons, so Hiragi, and then we got Furufuru that damage dealt to enemies by 24%, and Onigumu increased damage dealt to enemies depending on the stats you have it on the skill level. Please Gremlin release this supporter again in the event, we need her. So next was the green build that I was using in the arenas. This one I have the weapons were the same weapons. I have crit damage in the main, and then I have critical rate in the sub area. Just to show you guys the stats on her, obviously for Annerose. Now the skills I used was Devour, reduce enemy speed by 30% for 10 seconds. And then the second skill I had was for Hyakurutsen, my bad. Gain super armor while using the skill, an additional attack that knocks back enemies at the end, and increase critical rate by 50%. Yashika Unbound was the next skill that I was using. I would highly suggest you guys use this one in her green build because you need those 6 seconds to be active as long as possible for you guys to input more damage to the enemy while you don't have to worry about another enemy hitting towards you. And finally, it's just the same. The fourth skill basically could be whatever you want. And the supporters was using for increased critical rate, having the vulnerability, and then critical damage of normal attacks. Kawaru increased critical damage of attacks. And then you have Sakuragi, which increased critical rate of all attacks by 60% and increased critical damage by 32%. Substitute, if you guys don't have Sakuragi, then Nagi Kotane will be a best substitute for it. Increased damage to melee attacks by certain damage. Granted, these were the builds that I used. These don't have to be the same. These are just builds that I want to showcase you guys, to show you that these builds that I've been using have been helping me along the way. Have been sometimes that RNG really kicks in, and sometimes I lose in the floor areas. But yes, this is the builds that I want to showcase you guys. I know that Beladish showcased his red build. I don't know if Taimanin Amazing will showcase his builds, but these are the builds that I've been using. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and expect more Annerose videos along the way. See you guys next time. Bye.
退屈ね。お酒でも飲んでいいかしら。